All right, all right, all right. Yes, everybody. Come on in, come on in. Let those notifications go on out. And while that is taking place, we are going to, that's right, we are going to do our usual sound checks and stuff like that. Make sure everything is going. Now, I will tell y'all that the Wi-Fi may, it may or may not. We have some, well, it's gloomy. I don't think it's raining yet because I don't hear it raining, but you never know. So, um, yeah, we're going to dive into this because it's very important to understand the difference between God teaching and the devil doing the testing. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and wet my whistle before we get started because some people are not going to like to hear this truth, and that's okay. But those who understand and truly know God, those who really know God, right? Because it's through Jesus that we get to Him, right? And how God reveals how He works. Because I remember thinking that, yeah, something don't seem right. And so, if anybody's wondering, yes, we are taking a break from wearing something today. Because I am testing out a theory, as we do often. Okay, yes. Because, well, it has to do with radio frequency, salt, and metal, okay? It's another theory I have. We talk a lot about that on the Patreon channel, y'all, because there are some dot connections that God is woohoo revealing to me about all of that. All right, so let's get these formalities out of the way while everybody gets their notifications and things like that. And of course, when I notice number discrepancies, I don't care. I don't care. God don't care either. All right, so let's keep on keeping on. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA Let's Just Chat Show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more here and at CHAAcademyBTBW.com. The link to that is always in the video description below for quicker access, and you all can always hop on over there and check out what we have for you to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. That's right. Okay, so we also know that there's a lot of things going on out there in the world right now that has a lot of people distracted, of course, on the world stage. Distraction galore. And so I remember a while back when I came across some memes and some others who were teaching that God tests people. Never sat right on my spirit. Never, 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 never. I was like, that just does not ring right. Because God made us, right? God already knows us better than we know ourselves. So why would He need to test us with anything? No, He teaches. God teaches us how to look for the lesson. God teaches us how to turn negatives into positive. God teaches us as He guides our steps. God is our guide, right? And so it never made sense, logical sense to me, that God would have the need to test us. I mean, after all, when we think about it, it's like, wait a minute, God is the Alpha and the Omega. And Jeremiah 1:5 comes to mind. And so why people telling us that God is testing us make absolutely no sense. Because what does He tell us in Jeremiah 1:5? Before I formed thee, I knew thee. Right? Before He formed us in the womb, He knew us, chosen ones. So before he formed us in the womb, he already knew us. So why would he need to test us with anything? Does not make sense, right? He sanctified us. That means he set us apart and ordained us a prophet unto the nation. So he already knows us. He also knows that we have to learn lessons. Life is full of lessons to learn. So God is just teaching us as he prepares us for the spiritual awakening to get into his reality. And so that's what he's doing. He is preparing as he teaches. In fact, the teaching of God is all part of his preparation for when he's going to awaken us at his appointed time. Absolutely. Okay. Oh my goodness. Right? Okay. And so we also come to realize that, okay, after all that we have all been through, right? And some of y'all I know are still going through it. And so listen, you're all always in our prayers. Always in our prayers, because it's just the way it has to be, okay? Spiritual warriors for Christ, we have to be in each other's prayers, praying for one another, always. And how do you pray for the enemy? Turn them over to God. Say, you know what? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And so we turn them over to God. Here, God, they're yours. Now what do you need us to do? It's that simple. For whoever needed that. Like, it's like we're supposed to pray for our enemies. How do we do it? That simple, right there. Okay? Because God will take care of it. He always does. But he teaches us. He's omnipresent, right? God is omnipresent. Because he's the God spirit within. He's omnipresent. The devil is not omnipresent. So, yeah, I know. It's ironic because the devil teaches us also what not to do. There you go. God teaches us, okay, this is how you're going to do it. This is how I need you to do it. This is how you're supposed to be doing it. The devil teaches us what all not to be doing. Yeah, through the behaviors of the narcissist. Yeah, they teach us what not to do. So the only testing being done, think about how the narcissist tests for boundaries. Think about how the narcissist, they confess at the very beginning because they're testing our level of awareness. Narcissists like to test and see which button they can poke and prod at. Narcissists are the ones that like to test and see if we're catching on to them. Narcissists are the ones who do the testing. So what does that tell us? Remember, the narcissist tells us who the devil is through their action and behaviors and, of course, nonsense that they speak. Then that means that the devil's the one doing the testing. The devil tests all of that stuff as well. Boundaries, a level of awareness, etc. By sending the narcissist to do his dirty work. Let that sink in. And so we just didn't know yet until God awakened us that that's what was happening. And so what we want to do is be mindful and not fall for the deceit that God is the one testing. Now, He has no reason to do that. If God already knows us, right? Yeah, He knows us better than we know ourselves because He made us in His image. So He knows us. He knows we're going to make mistakes. He knows that, the human side of us can be, stubborn, right? Yeah, God knows all of that. He knows we got to go through certain things, right? He he knew, God knew that when we were born with the world, the fallen world, the narcissistic matrix, God knew exactly what it was going to do and try to do to his chosen one. God already knew. God already had a plan. Glory be to God. God already had a plan because he knew. The best example I have for you all, again, for that, is that when I went down to close that Jezebel case study out, because I had to get some confirmation in the physical about a couple of things. Well, a few things, actually. And I got what I needed. Plus, God revealed the snake eyes, the pupils, the snake pupils. Okay. So, right, I got to see all of it play out in action. Oh my gosh, the flamboyancy, the walking into the grocery store as if they owned it, the elbow bumping for managers at the places, the grocery store, right? Yeah, I got to see the whole show on display. There was Jezebel spirit in action. And a new kind of doom and gloom in the eyes. And so basically, because of what she tried to do to me, oh, God's already taken care of that. I let it go. I conducted the forensic analysis on myself. God was revealing things to me, and I was like, all right. Because he brought me back to my forensic medicine 1 and 2 that I had to take for my forensic toxicology master's degree, right? Okay. So I was able to figure out, okay, and God kept my subconscious awake the whole time. All right, y'all, that she was doing what she was doing. And so, exactly. And because the evildoers are so physically weak, they're not going to do near as much as they think. They overestimate themselves. So anyhow, this is the best example how God already has a plan. But God knew that was going to happen at that exact time, on that exact day, during that exact week. He knew. God already knew. He also knows the human side of us, like I just said, our stubbornness. Because I was picking up some things during the virtual session, so to speak. I wasn't ignoring them, but I was like, I'm starting to get this sense that this one is not serious at all about healing from the trauma. This one's just playing a role. And sure enough, that's right. Because I'm going to share with y'all, it was really funny. They thought their purpose was to start growing healing herbs, and that they were told nobody else has anything like that out there. And I was busted out laughing, going, well, I guess you haven't gone to the vitamin shop lately. Those healing herbs have been around for decades. Anyhow, I did not say anything. I just let them think what they want to think. And so they were playing a role, right? Thinking that they were buttering me up because they suddenly found their purpose. There's some funny moments. Like, I'm going to bring y'all some more. Don't worry. We don't have that demon to worry. I'm going to bring y'all some stuff because it was just woohoo. Cuckoo-loo-coo. That one gone. Long gone. Anyhow, God already had a plan. He already had a plan. He knew that was going to happen. And we are divinely protected by God, right? You got to trust and believe that. So when I finally realized, okay, that story's got holes in it, okay, we got a pretty good idea what happened. So we've got the foundation built. We're like, so we know what really happened. Okay, we set the foundation for some more analyzing and things like that. So I come to in one of those beds, right? Going through all that. I finally, a fall, but no carpet burns. Your steps are carpeted. That doesn't make sense. Okay, all right, gotcha. So God had me log into one of the hotel rewards thingies that I'm a part of. And he told me, okay, because I was like, okay, but where? I said, where am I going? I go, God, I asked him, I was like, where am I going? And he reminded me of the city he was talking over and over and over again in my head. But I said, yeah, I don't know about living inside there particularly, but close by. And so it's like he, the game of darts, right? Okay, it's like God threw the dart. Boop, right here, where we're at. And so he showed me, okay, this is the hotel. All right. Got into my rewards thingy. Had to change my password because I didn't have my password with me. And so we did. We took care of that. And I went ahead and I booked the hotel in here. And he told me to look up the storage unit right up the road. And so after I had that particular chain, the hotel had like a 9-night limit. And so, right, I just went to another one across, just a few blocks up the way, not far. I want y'all to stay with me here. God has a plan. He had my escape route all planned out for me. And so I'm just giving y'all some additional rundown to share with you all how he does this, because he does not need to test us. He already has it planned out. He knows before we do what's about to happen. Only God does that. Only God has that knowledge. So, right. And so I had that done. And then, God said, okay, showed me the storage unit. And my original thought was, okay, I'll just make several car trips. It's not that I had all that much stuff, just some totes and boxes, right? I mean, you get my point. So what I ended up doing was, I thought I was going to make several car trips, and that's what I had told the Jezebel. Yeah, I told the Jezebel I was going to make several car trips, because originally that's, I don't have time to really sit and think yet. I'm just focused on getting the heck out of there, because I knew. And so did one of the doctors. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I talked to him. And I told him about my educational background. And I gave him the rundown on what really happened, because of bruise patterns, things like that, the lack of carpet burns and all that. And he was like, oh. Well, he got it. He knew. And so did some others. Because when I started asking very specific questions during my analysis, they were all too happy to oblige. Because they knew what I was doing. There's many of them that had to take the same or similar courses like I did in Forensic Medicine 1 and 2. So they knew what I was doing. Because, they didn't have any other information, because there was no physical proof of what she did. So there you go, right? Okay. Anyhow, God had a plan. He had my escape plan all laid out. So, got in there, got cleaned up, chopped the hair off, put myself together, started loading up my car. And so, as much as I could get in there. As much as I could get in it. And then, of course, everything I needed to stay in a hotel. So I got about, I don't remember exactly how long, but I know at least a couple hours or so up the road, up the way. And it got to be around, I was getting hungry, right? I hadn't had anything to eat all day yet, right? So I was pretty hungry. But I go to the hotel. I have my luggage and a few things. And I had to stop off at, it doesn't matter, but I know that I ended up getting dinner and getting in the room and getting settled. And I remember sitting down and going, okay, now what? We've got the hotel for the next day ready. and we know where the storage unit is. And God said, okay, I need you to look up moving vans. Remember, he said, honey child, what have you learned? What has God taught me about these narcissists? Hey, Chris, how are you? How is everybody? Come on, let's drop it in the comments below. Thank you. Yes. All right. So God had a plan. And so I was in that hotel that night, and he said, I need you to look up moving vans. Okay. And so I started searching moving vans, because he started bringing things to my remembrance now, because I'm able to sit down, start to think a bit more clearly. Right. I'm like, okay. And so right in this town. Well, it's a city, actually. Right in this city, there was one U-Haul moving van close enough by the storage unit available. I booked that sucker, because he said, God told me, he was like, you know how these narcissists are, right? And if you, let's say you make a third or fourth trip and she locks the doors, what you gonna do? I said, oh, that's a good point, because they do that stuff. But she's under the impression that's what I'm gonna do, right? Make several trips. So she knew I was coming that next Friday to get some more of my stuff. I pulled on in there with that U-Haul van, and I got the rest of my stuff, and I got the heck out. Got that stuff. I know I shared a good bit of this on the Patreon channel too. Yes. But I wanted to give y'all a rundown, because it is the best illustration of how God had it planned. He had it all worked out. I mean, you hear how smooth that went to get me out of there. Right. And so I left from there with the rest of my stuff, headed to the storage unit, offloaded everything, because where I got the van, the car was waiting on me. He said, yeah, you can leave your car there because it's locked. So I get back to where the U-Haul place is at. I know they're already closed, but that's okay. You know, they got the drop box, right? So before I parked the van, I moved my car out, and I put the van back in its spot. And voila, stopped off. I believe I stopped off and got me something to eat, or I think I already had something in the room. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. I just know I got to the hotel, and that is when things really started to click. Dot connection. And believe it or not, there's still dot connection from that case study that are occurring. Yeah, because it fit in with the other situation that was going on during that case study, with increased frequency inside that environment. Yeah, so there's some more connection taking place. And we're going to bring them to y'all. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's how God had a plan. He didn't need to test me at all to see if I would follow his plan. He did not need to do that, because he knew I would. Because he knew. Because when I woke up and I read that story, I was like, because God brought it all back to my remembrance, like I shared earlier. I saw the whole show. Oh yeah. The constant need for control, the way she treated her pet, that was real obvious. That's right. Bossy. Oh, big time. And then there was another visitor that next day as I was getting out. She was bossing that person around. Classic. Yep. Very, very haughty. Her spirit was extremely haughty. Oh, yeah. Arrogant. And so I remember when she would speak of her particular job position, trying to tell me that, oh, because it's a rarity for a woman to hold that kind of position. That let me know right there. I was like, her job position go to her head. Okay. And also her gender. She let that go to her head. Absolutely. And so she had 7 months to conjure up some cockamamie narc story. Oh, it is believable. Of course. Because we know how bizarre these evildoers are, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you all. God had a plan. That's why I want y'all to understand that no matter what it is that we're going through, God always has a plan. You got to trust that. Because when you listen to that intuition, right? God guides our step. See how God had me? I had not even thought to get on with that hotel reward chain until I started taking business trips. See, God had a plan, right? He told me to start taking short business trips. You know, get out there and advertise. Because he was preparing me for this studio apartment, smaller space living. God had a plan. He didn't test me to see if I would end up here. He knew I would. That's why I'm trying to tell you all that God knows us better than we know ourselves. And this is why we learn to trust him, because of that. Because God already knows what's going to happen before it happens. He's the only one that does. And that's another reason why God has us switch things up a bit, so we're not too predictable. Okay, so does the devil pull narcissists off, or is there a season of narcissistic attacks that will end at some point? Good question. Okay, so the devil is the one who sends those narcissists across our path. Okay? And there are 2 times a year where narcissists get a bit more, I guess you can say, antsy to line up supply. And one of those times is now in the fall. And they start doing that towards the end of the summer because they're trying to line up winter snuggle bunnies. And then again towards the end of spring, entering into summer, because by then they're discarding, they are discarding their winter snuggle bunny, now in search of a summer fun snuggle bunny. That's how they operate, because remember, they've got that toddler mindset, right? So they go by man season. Okay, God doesn't go by man season, but that's how narcissists operate. I mean, they're after supply all year round, yeah, but those 2 times of the year, because you got the fall, they want their winter snuggle bunny. But what you got in the fall, right? That's when all of the pagan traditions start taking place, right? Okay, so they need a winter snuggle bunny to ruin their fun. Right, and then towards the end of spring, maybe in the middle of spring, but towards the end usually, when summer's about to happen, summer break, vacation, they want a summer fun snuggle bunny, right? And so you can pretty much tell that when they start looking for the winter snuggle bunny, they are discarding the summer fun snuggle bunny. The same thing when they're in the middle to the end of spring, they're discarding the winter snuggle bunny while they line up there. Right? Well, they've lined up. Usually they don't start the discard, so let me correct the record here. I stand corrected. They're already lining up their new supply, summer and winter. Right? they've already got that lined up when they start discarding. So, for example, towards the end of spring, right, they got their summer fun snuggle bunny lined up. Sometimes more than one, right? Oh yeah, especially if they're younger. So they got that done. Then they start the discard of the winter snuggle bunny. That's how they work. And those of us who got duped by the narcissist was sent to us by the devil. God is not a God of suffering. That's another reason why God's not sending the narcissist across our path. No, God would never do that. God's like, no. He said he's not sending none of these evildoers across our path. He just knows they exist. And so that's when you will see probably those 2 times a year would be the times that you would see an increase in attacks by narcissists. Okay, yeah, even in narcissism side of marketing, absolutely. So we start to notice it on the societal level. You are welcome. I'm glad you're feeling a little better. Hey, one day at a time, y'all. One day at a time. Okay, so what or how can self-sabotage manifest? Well, I'll tell you that the self-sabotaging part, it can be pretty tricky. But a lot of it is through that negative self-talk. And that starts and develops through the subliminal messaging that the narcissist put out. Okay? How they do it. How many times have we heard a narcissist call themselves stupid? Exactly. Exactly. So they do that to try and get us to love bomb, to try and get us to, right, exactly. They want to try to get us to tell them that they're not, right? They need the ego stroke. But they're also trying to plant that subliminal message in our subconscious with the word stupid. That's how. Okay? That's one of many ways of how self-sabotage can manifest. Over time, the repetition of that in the subconscious, we've done it, we've slipped up, and we've done something. Maybe we made a mistake or we messed something up, and we tell ourselves, well, now that was stupid. We stop doing that. Because I'll tell you, God, when I did that the last time, God was like, stop. He was like, stop talking like that. Because these little mistakes or mishaps or what have you that we make, it's not that big of a deal. But because we have to unlearn that type of thinking so we don't self-sabotage, because what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we're like, okay. The chosen one, y'all, we're not stupid. We are smart. Especially when we start to get God's wisdom. We increase in knowledge. Remember, with God, the closer to him we get, we increase in all areas, including wisdom, his wisdom. And then, yes, negativity in general. Absolutely. Okay. So, yeah, a lot of people do believe that the attacks by narcissists are sent by God, but they're not. That's why I had to get up here and set the record straight. I know, that's why I also know that there's going to be some people who are not going to like to hear that truth. Well, if they don't want to, yeah, you know where I'm going with this, right? If they don't want to hear the truth or accept the truth, what does that tell us? Exactly. That they're not following Jesus like they claim to be. Because what do we know about in Ephesians 4:21, right? Truth is in Jesus. And so the devil wants people to think that God is testing them, because the devil doesn't want people to know that it's actually the devil doing the testing of the faith. Right. Remember? The devil wants to hide in plain sight. So he's convinced a lot of people that God will test us on this. God will test us on that. God teaches. Because it's like I've said early on, it made no sense to me when I started hearing that, reading that. Like, wait a minute, why would the all-knowing God need to test us for anything? Let that sink in. I mean, he is the all-knowing God. Why would he need to test? No, I'm going to share with you all another way that self-sabotage can manifest. And that from my story of making way too many poor dietary decisions over the last about year. Well, we've since changed that. For those of you who have been with us, you know that we've turned that around. And so I got some more containers. I got some fresh cranberries. I got pineapple juice made in there. Fresh pineapple, that's it, nothing added. The vegetable juice, same thing. And so complete 180. Because see, I had a vision a long time ago. For those who haven't heard that, I had a vision of doing that a long time ago, of making all my own all natural juices and soups. And so that's what we're doing. Absolutely. And I feel God jumping for joy when I open up that fridge and it's all like got broccoli, carrots, celery and stuff. And God's like, I'm happy. God's like, he's pleased. That's what pleasing God feels like to do. And in your gut, you feel God. It's almost like he's doing a backflip. It's great. I'm telling y'all, it's great when you know that God is pleased. When God is well pleased, you know he's going to be blessing us, right? He's going to bless us anyway. The enemy knows that. And so, well, thank you. I am settled here and coming into my own. Absolutely. Once we got it all worked out and figured it out and working out that salvation and engaging in a little bit of extra self-care. And God reminded me of some things today. Absolutely. And so that's why I'm not wearing, if anybody's wondering, I'm testing out another theory I have. It's what we do. When God reveals something new, I got more theories to test. I'm loving every minute of it. Yeah, all about that radio frequency. And yeah, it's amazing. And so I'm still working it out for the Patreon channel to share a bit more of that. Yeah. So I self-sabotage. So basically what happened was God revealed to me was that I was like, okay, so where are we at on this recovery journey, right? The enemy was trying to convince me that certain things experiencing here and there are the result of what happened about 5 months ago today. And God said no. Yeah, God said no. I said, okay, that's it. And so he showed me a little something else about myself. And that's when we made that conscious decision. Because I had a couple of bags of junk food in the cupboard that were, already half gone. And it's like, well, you know what? If we're gonna do this, we got to be all in or not at all. So he's been slowly but surely, the 3 exceptions are now down to 2 as far as on the blood type diet. So he's weaning me off of the exception a little at a time. Basically, like, okay, because there are some nutrients, let's say in that, there's some calcium in that cream cheese. Okay, once you finish that, don't buy no more. That's how he's doing it. So, on certain things. And it's one day at a time, y'all. It's one day at a time. Because for those who don't know, the metal molecules are not lipid soluble. So what's radio frequency? Right, it's metal poisoning, pretty much, in its simplicity. So if we have an excessive storage of fat in our body, that's where the metal molecules going to hang out. And frequency heats your body from the inside out. And as you will learn on the Patreon channel, some of y'all already have, salt is the body's thermostat. There's 2 places of the body. The research is out there. This is how I know it, because I did the research. There's 2 places of the body that exactly where the body, other than through sweating, stuff like that, but to release that internal heat through the top of the head and the bottoms of the feet. So for any of you, if you find yourself, okay, and you are, let's say, standing under a fluorescent light, and all of a sudden you feel like a tingling, almost like your head might be on fire, but it's not. That's because, that's right, that your body is releasing excessive heat from within due to radio frequency poisoning. So just keep that in mind. There's your tip. And don't let the enemy trick you into thinking there's something wrong. No, that's a natural process. That has to happen. So as we make better dietary decisions and we start burning off some excess fat, we're going to experience, a bit more of that. And I'm familiar with that because of the ex-psycho roommate. I went through similar stuff, except the differences are, at that time, I was on the blood type diet at least 93% of the time, and I had not deviated from it, and I was still drinking protein shakes every day. So there's some slight differences as to how important our diet is when we are trying to heal, especially from trauma. And then once we learn about radio frequency poisoning and we reduce our exposure to it as much as possible, remember, higher volume, higher frequency. So we learn to limit our exposure to it, start eating healthier, right? Don't take in extra. Listen, my tip, like I also say on the Patreon channel, my tip is, listen, if it's already got salt in it, leave it. Don't add none. That's all that you need. I know some people aren't going to like that tip, but because the more salt that you take in, the hotter the inside of your body is going to be. And you're going to feel heavy. And you're going to be lightheaded. There's that thing called heat stroke, right? Okay. So, right, the more salt you take in, and then let's say you spend 10 hours, right, surrounded by tons and tons of frequency. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoo, I'm burning up. Well, that's why. Salt, radio frequency, heats the body on the inside. Again, y'all, this research is out there. I wouldn't know it if... And the only reason I know it's fact is because I experienced it. So I bring it to y'all. Yep. Okay, I want to get caught up. Listen, the heat out there does not bother me. It never has. In fact, I prefer warmer climates. Always have. So that's the one thing that the enemy didn't count on when that Jezebel case study did what she did, right? And then all that excessive radio frequency that I was exposed to in the previous environment, right? So I did get a little bit of a higher dose in there, right? So basically, y'all, what radio frequency poisoning is, in its simplicity, it's just minor bursts giving people little electrical shocks. Because over time, electrical shocks. Okay, I'll share this again for those. When I was, and listen, when we're little, we don't know, right? And I don't recall exactly how old I was, but I know I was interested. I mean, I was definitely over the age of 7 to be able to pull this off. I remember there was a pasture, okay, where we used to live, and there were some cows, and I was trying to get the attention. I wanted to pet the cow, okay? Yeah, the human side being stubborn. Well, I didn't know that the fence, the metal fence, whatever, I didn't know that it was electric. So I find a metal pole. Y'all know where I'm going with this. I find a metal pole. I laugh at myself because God reminded me, because that's what it feels like whenever you get a jolt of radio frequency. Bear with me. I took that metal rod and I was trying to get the cow's attention, and I went right through and it hit the fence. Woo! Yes, y'all, I did. I peed my pants. What do you expect? I mean, gosh. Oh, I never did that again. Right? I learned my lesson on that one. But young and dumb at the time. Right? Well, I learned. Yeah, don't do that. But God brought that to my remembrance as far as the sensation. Because think of it this way. You know how you wake up sometime and you've fallen asleep on your arm, right? And then you wake up and you start shaking it, and you feel the tingling, it starts to wake back up. Okay, see, this is why we got to be able to discern the difference. Because as our bodies get rid of toxin, you're going to go through periods of that. But it's important to know, okay, was it because of that, or is it because that's just waking back up? And so knowing the difference helps us stay balanced and emotionally regulated. All about that discernment, right? Because I'm going to share with y'all briefly that because it's part of how the enemy tricks us into self-sabotage. Do y'all know that we also engage in our own self-electrocution? Yeah. With anything battery operated. Let that sink in. That's frequency. What are batteries made of? Exactly. So be mindful of that. Now, mind you, toothbrushes and other things, it's not enough to really do any major negative. I mean, you don't use that thing but for a couple of minutes, right? Okay. You good. This is not to scare anybody. This is to educate and to let y'all know that that's how, just one way the enemy tricks us into doing it to ourselves. But each time that we use it, we're giving ourselves a little jolt. It is what it is. Every time we use that hair dryer, there's some frequency. Every time we use that blender, that noise, frequency. I mean, there's so many ways that we do contribute to our own radio frequency poisoning. All part of recognizing that moot in our own eyes. Yeah, some people don't want to hear that. Some people do not want to hear that truth. Okay, so, like, yep, diet and other vices and how people get tricked into self-sabotage. And yes, I got some more containers for juices and soups. Oh, actually, juices and my own salad dressing that I'm gonna make. And so I answered that about the heat doesn't bother me. Confession time. Yeah, I did find out the hard way about that. Electrical fences, because when I got to the house, I'm all shook up, like all shook up. And I don't recall if it was I think it was my dad. Like, that was an electrical fence, Michelle. I was like, oh. Okay, there you go. TVs with a static charge on the screen. That good one. Yes, thank you for sharing. That is, listen. What do you think that static is from them TVs with a static? What do you think that is? That's that radio frequency. Yes. There you go. Awesome, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. I had not even thought of that, but yes, that is definitely another. Yep. So all we can do, this is the and more part. Okay, because we now know that God does not do the testing. It's the devil that's doing the testing of the faith, because he needs to check and see, like the narcissists do, if we're aware. What do we know versus what we don't know? Things like that, right? And so we have to send the narcissist across our path to do that testing, test for boundaries, right? God's like, I know my child. I know what he or she about to do. God's like, I know. He's like, yeah, he already knows. That's why we let him guide our steps, because he knows what's best. After all, I know I was young, but yeah, we now know we do not put a metal pole through an electrified fence. So, yeah, I'm looking at the clock, and I want to keep this particular episode around the hour mark today, because there are some other things that I did not quite get to yet. I want to get back on here later with another message. And because I had to run a couple of errands. I could have done just one errand today, but while I was out, God's like, just go get it. Just go get those veggies. You'll be all right. And so as I was doing that, he was revealing additional things to me. And yeah, it's just an ongoing journey in God's reality. Yes, right. With the static, yeah, when you would touch it and your hair. Exactly. Yeah. And then that also makes me think of the static cling, when you get something out of the dryer. Some fabrics, you get them out of the dryer and they have a static cling to it, because what's the dryer? It's frequency. So that's what I'm saying, we are surrounded by it. And so all we can do is just, control and manage. I wouldn't say control per se, but manage is a better word. There you go. Manage the amount of exposure to it the best we can. That's all we can do. And also, along with that tip is to reduce that sodium intake. Really be mindful of that, because that contributes to the brain fog. Salt and sugar, as you may or may not have already learned about on the Patreon channel, those are the two worst thing that, it helps to induce that brain fog. And then especially corn syrup. Corn syrup tricks, this research is out there too. Corn syrup tricks the frontal lobe into going, I want some more of that. And so exactly. That's why you find corn syrup in fast food stuff. You know, like those little dips. Not all of them, but the majority of them. Right? Little sauces from these coin. Look at it, corn syrup. Corn syrup also leads to cellulite because our bodies are not designed by God to digest synthetic stuff. It's always going to digest like cane, natural sugar first. It's hands down, that is how we are biologically made. And the body's not going to touch that synthetic stuff in corn syrup first. No. So what happened? Of course. There you go. Oh. Well, that's interesting. They banned corn syrup. Very interesting. Hey, there you go. You're not bugging me with questions, y'all. Seriously, when you have a question, about all of this, it's natural to have questions in the spiritual awakening. And then also, questions about certain things that I'm sharing and all of that. Okay. But we're not gonna, and then general questions like asking me if I need to, wear anything when I go for a walk and it's a hot day. I mean, clothes, of course, duh, but I don't need any protective hat or anything like that. Because God got me off of having to use any kind of, right. See, look, a lot of this stuff out here, that the enemy got people putting all over their body to try and protect from this and that, full of chemicals that will do what? That's right. That serve as another conduit for radio frequency. Well, you figure that out. But, well, that too. That as well. Well, you're welcome. And yes, I am. I'm always thankful. I don't mind answering questions that it pertains to, what we're all experiencing now in God's reality and beyond. Right? Yeah, exactly. Okay. But yeah, it's just kind of all kinds of stuff, y'all, that God revealed in our end stages of life. It's just, and nothing that I am sharing with you all is a secret. None of it is. When I learned about a lot of that, and I went to the store, well, I actually had some tanning stuff on the shelf, and I went straight to the shelf, and I was looking at the ingredients, and I was like, trash. But no more of that on my body. Don't need it. So I'm serious. All right, everybody. So there you go. We will be covering more of all of this. Yes, I know yawning is only a sign that I need to get a little more oxygen to the brain. All right, yeah, yawning is not a sign of being tired because Lord knows I'm not tired. All right, that's right. Yeah, chosen one. When we are fully healed, we've got our empathy under control, or we're managing it. Yes, we can control our own empathy, absolutely. We're no longer drained by because we're not letting them drain us. So that inspo for whoever needs it. All right. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true technique, and more here and at CHAAcademybtbw.com. The link to the Academy is also in the video description. For quicker access, y'all can always go on over there and check out what we have for you to help you level up your healing and spiritual growth. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.